Hello, welcome. This is Sam of Sambookery. In today's video, I wanted to go over my top 5 extras that I love to add to my junk journals. These are all things that are maybe not necessary, but they're a fun extra level that makes the journals look more finished and more personalized and cute. So we will start with this Ranger Distress Oxide. This is ink, and this is the little ink applier with the little sponges. These sponges come on and off with the Velcro. So when they get, old and worn, you throw them out and you grab another one. And this wooden handle is so nice to use. It's still so good. You can just have one handle and have a different sponge for each color ink that you use. If I could only have one ink, it would be Vintage Photo. To me, this is my favorite shade to use to distress things. Oh, let me grab something to put this on. So here's just a little craft envelope. So you just put a little ink on the sponge and just run it around the edge of everything. I like warm colors. This leans a little orange, but I like that. If you don't like warm colors, maybe try a different shade. I think Frayed Burlap leans a little more grayish, but this Vintage Photo is my favorite. And now I barely put any on here, but just look. And this is easier to tell on like a white paper, but if you look at these two, right, one looks brand new and just made, and now this one's got the nice vintage edge to it. It's subtle, but it really makes a difference, especially if you ink all the edges and everything you add to your journal. It gives it this nice finished look and a nice vintage look. So that is why, of all the extra things I could add to a journal, ink is my number one. These pads last forever. I've only replaced mine once in years. And you can even buy the reinkers to just add more ink to them. And this handle is super nice. It lasts for a long time. And you just replace the sponges. So it's like really economical and kind of more environmentally friendly. So you're not tossing the whole thing out when you're done. So inking the edges is super nice. Let me see if I have a journal here where the edges are inked. So here's one. And I didn't use Vintage Photo on this one. I used Ground Espresso because that color kind of went with this theme more. But this file folder, I just inked around all the edges here just to give it a distressed look so it wouldn't look like a brand new file folder. And you can see on the edges, it's subtle, but it really does a lot to make the junk journals look more interesting and more vintage. So that is my top extra that I like to add to my journals. Second is this cotton fabric ribbon. So it's 100% cotton, it's loosely woven, and it's sold as ribbon. And I've got it in, I think this is 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch. The 1 inch, and this is this 2 inch? No, this is well, it's either 1.5 or 1 3/4, depending on whether they're measuring this fringe or not. But it comes in a variety of widths. So I bought this roll. This was a set, these 3 different, was it a set? It actually comes in lots of colors too. I only bought neutrals, but this was 3 different shades of neutral, and then this was kind of a mid-tone natural color. And these I love. I was always just tearing up fabric to use, but it would have so many strings coming off everywhere, and it looked so messy, and it was very frustrating. So when I found that you could just get the cotton fabric as a ribbon, and it's lasted me a really long time. These are so much nicer, I think. And I got them in neutral colors because that way, if I wanted a color to match a kit, I can easily cut off however much I want. And you can use, grab one, you can just use a stamp pad to ink it. You can use watercolor paint. You can use distress crayons. There's all kinds of things. I already have things that make color. Watercolor markers, whatever you want, you can use to color the ribbon. And that way I don't have to buy like 10 different colors of ribbon. I just buy one, and if I want to color it, I can. Most of the time, I just like the neutral color. I think it looks nice. They look vintage. These are old, worn colors. So let me show you how I've used this in journals that I have made. One easy way is just using the ribbon as a tie closure. On this little mini journal from Candy Cottage, I just wrapped this around and tied a knot because I tied on this gift tag to it as if it was a gift. And so that's one way you can use these. I think it was this one on here because this color looked better with this Woodland Impressions journal. This one, I actually glued this ribbon in between the lining and the cover, so you don't see the end. It's in between both of them. And now I've got a permanent wraparound closure to help the journal stay closed. And I just wrap it around and tuck it in. You can also tie a giant bow if you want. And I did that. Let me show you. So on this one, I just wrapped fabric around and tied a bow. But this is just my own fabric that I hand dyed. And you see what I'm talking about? These threads, I constantly take them off and just more keep coming off. And it was just so messy and frustrating. So when I found the ribbon, I was super happy. But yeah, just wrap it around a couple times and tie a bow to keep your journal closed. Here's another way I use them, which is tying them through tags. So that is this, it's this color, but it's this thinner ribbon here. And just cut a little piece off and loop it through the hole on tags as a tag topper. So that was some of the ways I like to use this cotton ribbon. It comes in tons of colors, tons of widths from different manufacturers. But I do have all of these things linked in my Amazon storefront if you guys want to learn more about them or see what they're about. And I'll make a special section just for this video. It will be called my top 5 extras. Another thing similar to that is lace. I love to add lace to my junk journals. It gives it a vintage vibe. It adds a little bit of texture and detail. So this is lace I already had that I just wound up. And this is a kit I got, I think it might have had more, I don't know, off of Amazon. So that's definitely in my Amazon storefront. And it comes with various widths of lace, different styles, all wound up like this. I mean, this could last you so long. I love adding lace, but let me show you different ways you can add lace to your junk journals. Here I've used lace on this mini journal on the spine, just glued it on the spine. Actually leave the journals open, glue it down, and then you close them. Here's another, this is a folio where I have glued the lace. I don't really have a spine on the folio, but on this fold on the cover. And it just looks really pretty and adds a really nice texture. Also used lace in here. This is just a topper for a journal card. I just fold the lace in a V, grab a stapler and staple it on as a fun topper. This card, I went ahead and got glue and glued lace to the top of this one. And it just adds an easy, immediate interest in layered textures here. This is, what is this? This is the Meadow Flower folio. And then I also did lace on the spine here. This is on a junk journal. And so if you have, this is a single signature journal. So you can, I didn't need to use a lace this wide, but you can use like the thinner laces on the skinnier journals. And then if you have a wide journal, you can use a wide lace to cover the spine. And besides looking pretty, adding lace to the spine, or even if you wanted to add some of this, let me see, some of this cotton fabric ribbon, it adds a lot of stability to the spine because paper being open and closed so often, it will wear down the paper fibers and it may make them more fragile. So adding fabric or lace to the spine is a structural element as well and will help your journals last longer. Let's see if we've added any more lace inside here. Yeah, so this is a pocket that's shaped like an envelope, and I just glued lace along the top of the pocket just as a decorative edge. This is a Spring Roses junk journal kit. And there's another pocket I did that too. So lace is definitely one of my favorite things to add to journals. If you don't want to put it on the spine, on this one I added some lace to the bottom and to the top. Because the spine, I used a bookbinding tape because this was a file folder and it was fairly thick here. And it was kind of more, not the look I was going for. I was going for something a little more kind of industrial and modern, not modern, but more plain, but I still need some lace. I can't make it without lace. So I added a little lace doily here and lace just at the top and the bottom. It just adds a really cute element. And then also on the top, let's see. This is a fun way too, adding lace to the edges of your pages, which I do a lot, so that the lace is just kind of sticking out here, or adding it to the top. So when it's closed, you see a little bit of lace at the top of the journal. So on this one, I added lace to the top of this fold out here. Just some fun ways to add lace. Let's see if I grabbed, this one has got lace on the top here, 3 different types of lace throughout the journal. Just added to the tops of pages, really adds a lot of interest. This one I don't think I did because this was a woodland theme, and so lace wasn't super appropriate. I went more with the fabric on this one. But those are ways you can add lace to your junk journals, and that's why it is my number 3 fun extra for adding to journals. Number 4, beads. I love beads. They add a different textural element, a shine, and especially a sound to journals, and I will show you what I mean by that. So I usually add the beads to my signature strings at the bottom or the top of the journal, and so when they hit the desk, they make like a clinking noise. When the top of it hits the desk, let's see, this one's got some longer ones. So you've got that extra sound. They're very smooth, so it adds a different texture to your journals. And I've tried lots of beads, but a lot of my beads I had in my stash were for jewelry making, and they had very tiny holes for doing like tiny, you know, those thin clear filament kind of strings through them. And they didn't really work for junk journals, because when I'm binding my junk journals, I'm using thicker thread. I'm using like this wax thread or embroidery floss or pearl cotton, and it's a lot thicker than normal jewelry stuff. So it took me a while to find some beads that had holes in the middle big enough that I can easily thread through the signature strings and add the beads to. So I found these. They are from Amazon. They are the 6mm size beads and the 8mm size beads, and they have nice large holes that are super easy. And these beads come in a ton of different sizes, you guys, so you could get different sizes. These are the 2 I got. I like to have a variety of sizes in my beads, so I've done large, small, large on this one. And this one I did, now these aren't from this kit, but it's the exact same type of bead. And I did small, large, small on this one. These beads I got from Daiso. If you did not see my Daiso junk journal kit video, I'll put a link to that in the description. They have so many fun things there. And that's when I first came across these beads. But they only sell them in packs of a couple, and they were running out all the time. So I went on a search to find something similar. And that's when I found these on Amazon. And I decided to go with the 6mm and the 8mm size. There's plenty of different sizes, and at some point when I want to splurge, I may get some of the bigger ones, because these are a little bit bigger. Here, these are the 8, so these must be like the 10 or the 12. But I thought to be the most useful, I went with the 6 and the 8. So this little yellow one is the smaller one. And they come in a ton of colors. Let me show you guys. So I got 4 packages, 2 packages of the small and 2 of the large. And so it's the same colors, but in each size. So I can mix and match them together. And this is a good range of colors where pretty much any journal theme I have going, I can find beads that match that theme. The holes, these holes are a little bit smaller than the other ones, but they're still pretty big. Let's show you guys. Here's my awl, and it goes right through the beads. And the threads I use are not any thicker than this, so super handy. And also, if they're like made in a little bit of plastic, kind of gets stuck in the hole, sticking an awl or a needle or something through it knocks it right out, and you have no trouble getting your thread through. So beads are definitely my number 4 favorite extra to add to my junk journals. And look at these pretty colors. Most beads are like in garish, like primary colors that don't go with everything. These sets had like nice neutral colors, kind of more muted tones that kind of would go with a vintage vibe junk journal. So that's why I went with these kits. And you can't tell online, like a bead could be ginormous or tiny because there's no sense of scale when you buy something online, and you can't see, like, of course they hold up a millimeter ruler and they're like, you know, here's how big our hole is. Well, that doesn't help me. So I finally went to a store and like measured theirs and saw holes that were big enough. So I knew what numbers to look for when I looked online, but it's really hard online to get beads that end up coming to you with holes big enough to use for junk journaling. So these are perfect. I definitely linked these for you guys because I was so glad when I found these. This set was not a ton. This is going to last me forever, really. So, this fun noise. I love having that noise on the journals. Just having a little bit of beads, a little bit of bling. So we're getting to my number 5 favorite extra to add to journals, and that is charms, metal charms. So on this one, I combine the beads and the metal charms here, which is one of my favorite combos. I'll usually do that if I'm hanging them off the top of the journal. If they're hanging off the bottom, I usually won't put charms because that's a lot to hang off in the weight. But you could do on either side. So these charms are ones I've got from different kits. I'll usually go on and buy like a kit of keys, and I'll get all the keys. And then they come in different colors. So you can get like an antique bronze, you can get a bright gold. Let's see, you can get a silver. There's different finishes. This one has some copper in it. Where's the copper? Some copper. So there's different finishes. So I went on and got just a variety of kits. And I think, I don't know, they came in little packages, but I had this leftover case from some thread. And I thought this was perfect to get all the charms in one place, divided by theme. So when I'm making a journal like this one, was a woodland themed journal, and so I wanted dragonflies and butterflies. On this one, I just go to my dragonfly, that's like my insect one, because I have bees in here too, and I can just pick out a couple of charms from here to go with the journal. So I've got hearts, keys. This one I just thought was hilarious. It was just a bunch of like utensils, like cooking, kitchen utensils, measuring spoons. I just thought it was hilarious. I definitely want to do a kitchen themed junk journal kit for you guys. I already have a lot of it ready. I just haven't got around to it because I wasn't sure, but I want to do that and include recipe cards and stuff. And I just thought these would look so cute hanging from a kitchen themed journal or like a recipe card notebook. We've got, these are like money themed things. So there's like dollar signs, Chinese coins, diamonds, all kinds of interesting things. This is wine themed, and I'm not sure, I don't love this color gold. I thought I would, and I bought several kits in it, and now I'm thinking I only want to get them in this color. But I'm going to try to use these up. I used them on this Spring Roses folio or junk journal as the ends of the strings for the closure. So I just tied on a heart and a little key. And that is a fun way to use the charms as well, besides putting them on the signature strings like we did here, is tying them on the closures with a folio style like this. So on here, I didn't use them. I just did paper hearts, which is a super quick and easy way to finish off your strings. But if you have charms that look cute with your kit, tying charms on there is great. It also weights it down so the string doesn't come unwrapped. And it looks adorable, and it's a fun extra textural element on there. I don't think I use them too much. Let's see, here's another way I love to use charms, is putting a hole in the edge of a page. These are on tabs, and using a jump ring and attaching the charms here. So when you look at this, let's see, when you look at the side of the journal, you've got all these little metal charms hanging off the edge. It's cute and kind of an unexpected element. I've also got some just hanging off the bottom of the page here. Let's open this because I've used a lot of charms in this one. And that's kind of one of the last things I'll put in a journal. These extras are usually things I'll do at the end. It's like I've made the journal, it's mostly done, except for the inking. The inking, do the inking first. Much easier before you put everything together. But charms, beads, ribbon and lace that you're adding on to things, I do that at the end, and I'll do a round. I'll sit there with my journal and I'll go, okay, where can I add lace? And I'll go through my lace. And let me just, one aside, I know I keep interrupting myself. I use Fabri-Tac to glue on my lace. It's clear, it does have a bit of an odor, it dries really quickly, and I use this rubber spatula thing, or these silicone brushes, to press it down so I'm not getting it on my fingers. And to press it down, it dries really quickly. Like in a minute, you can keep working. The next day, it's 100%. But that is what I use to put down my lace in my journals. But let's see where we're putting the charms in here. So we've got one just with a little metal grommet and a jump ring attached here. Let's get to this one. Okay, so here's a flip out I did with a laminated sheet of paper, and I punched holes in the bottom, and I did jump rings and added these charms so that when you flip this out, you've got that added element on there. It just makes it more fun. And I like things to be more fun. All right, here we go. We've got a bee on this tab here. And so I have links to the grommets and the jump rings too on my Amazon store. They're useful too, but the charms are everything. And you just need some way to get the charms attached, and just tying them on to the end of the strings is a super quick and easy way to do it. This journal, these aren't actually signature strings. This journal is put together kind of like a traveler's, is it a traveler's notebook, where all the pages are just folded in half with the cover, and I just wrapped a string around all the pages and just tied a knot so the pages can come in and out if you want. It was a super quick and easy binding method for people that don't have a ton of binding supplies. And then I had the strings hanging down, and you can hide the ends inside the journal if you don't want to see them, but I always like to take an opportunity to make something look a little fancier, a little more interesting. So I just added some of those beads and some charms to the end of these strings. And so now it's more like a feature element, not something I'm trying to hide. All right, so charms. So those charms, there's several kits, but it's one manufacturer, most of them, that I like to get them from. They've got good quality, good variety, and multiple finishes to pick from in terms of like silver, gold, antique, and all that. So that's linked on my Amazon storefront as well. And you know, I did not buy them all. I held back, and I bought the ones I thought I would make kits, you know, in that. I've got these cute, I've got to make a sea-themed one. These cute starfish, crabs, turtles, dolphins, so cute. And then we've got suns and moons. Those are adorable. But again, I'm not feeling this gold. It's like a weird kind of rose gold, but I'll use it. But it's really only good for like the more lighter journals. I liked it on this one because this was like a pastel journal, so I thought the colors looked nice with that. But you can get these in any finish. So that is my number 5 favorite extra to add to my junk journals, charms. Any kind of charms. You can find them anywhere. These I bought specifically because I did an Egyptian journal, and so I bought packs of like, I think it came with like 5 of these and 5 of these. But the mixed packs are my favorite because then you have like the most variety, especially the ones that mix the metals too. So this one was just all mixed, all different types of metals. So here's like the regular gold, and here's that kind of rose gold. It's just maybe more pinky. But yeah, charms. Super fun metal element to add to your journals. So that was number 5. Number 4 was beads. Love these beads. And I got the 6mm and the 8mm, but they come in lots of different sizes. Number 3 was lace. I love lace. Vintage lace, even better. I went to a garage sale one time that was run by some men, and I don't know what the story was, but they were clearing out some lady's craft room, and they had just boxes and boxes of lace, like real lace, antique lace, for a couple bucks. And so I bought all of that. So I've been using that in my journals over the years, but it was kind of random sizes, random colors. So I did buy this set off of, well, this one wasn't, but this set off of Amazon, just so I can have like some standard sizes and widths to use in my journals over and over. But any kind of lace you get hold of, lace is great to add to a junk journal. My number 2 was this cotton ribbon. It's my new favorite thing. I use it on everything. Oh, here's one. Let me show you guys. Another thing you can use that ribbon for, instead of lace on your spines, is just using this cotton ribbon on your spines. Again, it's reinforcing the spine, it's adding structure, and it just looks cute. It's like an extra textural element there. So, cotton fabric ribbon. Now you don't have to buy this. If strings don't bother you, just use some old fabric, old sheets, old muslin, and tear them into strips, which is what I always used to do. That's a great thing to add texture and interest and a little bit of softness to your journals. And then my number 1 extra that I like to use in my journals is the Distress Oxide. And my favorite is Vintage Photo. But I will say my second favorite, pull it out here, is Ground Espresso, which is a much darker color. So if I'm doing a darker kit like this one, I will use the Ground Espresso. But if you just get one, this to me is universal. So those are my top 5 extras that I love to add to my junk journals. Hope this video was informative and gave you guys some ideas. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.